So I'm going to start this morning off with some morning thoughts about Nigeria because there are a few conversations being had, and there's a lot more conversations that are not being had that are quite relevant about this whole Nigeria speech that the um, Chidolini in power has decided to make recently about the administration's stance on specifically Nigeria. And Canadians, if you think this is just a criticism of the United States, please Google how Canada has been involved in Nigeria over the years. None of you should be surprised in any way by the rhetoric that's going on. None of you should be surprised by the speeches. None of you should be surprised by the language, and none of you should be surprised by the dog whistles. And if you didn't catch the dog whistles, these are the same ones that justified Afghanistan and Iraq. And these are the same ones that are still being used to justify the Isnot invasion of Palestine, which is the essentially Islamic fundamentalist talking point, which is a very misrepresented and highly inaccurate one. Not that they don't exist, but we need to have those conversations. And quite frankly, as an act of decolonialism, foreign entities should not be involved in places where any form of fundamentalism is occurring, because the odds are the fundamentalist groups are getting their funding from the colonial entities. So this whole paying both sides thing, or pretending to be on both sides thing, while arming, any form of fundamentalist group that is often uneducated and, let's be quite frank, male, primarily men. And this is not just one religion, fundamentalist group, okay? The nastiest IOF soldiers are the men. The nastiest monsters are typically men. So let's please be honest about that. The RSF men, like let's be honest. We're not a part of this problem. We're just the victims and the most violently exterminated ones. But anyway, all this to say, I'm going to go back to my point. It's the early morning, the scramble of the brain. This is an angle that nobody is talking about, the dog whistles, how we ended up getting to September 11th in the first place was consistent dog whistling, composition of propaganda, and manufacturing of consent. Okay, so, and this isn't just manufacturing of consent for Nigeria, just like September 11th was not just manufacturing of consent for Afghanistan. Because if you're unaware, the damage went all the way up to Iran, Pakistan, Iraq, Libya, and many other places. I would dare say that the fall of the Arab Spring is also as a result of all of that. But that's a conversation for another day. And I'm almost curious if an event as catalytic as September 11th is going to occur again to manufacture even more consent and support. And I wonder how many Americans are going to fall for it with this number of casualties it's going to be. Anyway, that kind of closes off the scramble of the first number of thoughts that have been going through my brain as I'm watching the whole Nigerian debacle unfold. But the second part of this whole Nigerian debacle that I want to touch on, because when we talk about groups being exterminated, we often talk about religious groups being exterminated. But nobody touches on atheists and apostates, the laws and their treatments within those same countries that make them an easy target for extermination. You will notice that those same countries often have a lot of vigilante extermination of trans people and LGBTQ people, and dare I say, even disabled people, and oftentimes also educated people, because oftentimes the highly academic and educated also fall under the category of apostate or atheist. And before you come and you say, oh, well, so many people are atheists and they don't have, please look up laws and please look up the historic treatment. of apostates and atheists all over the world, including your own countries. Because the fact is, if you are highly religious, you likely believe in a religion that in some sort of manufactured propaganda promotes the extermination of apostates and atheists in one way or another. Whether it's intentionally designed that way or not does not matter. That is not what I'm here to debate. I am here to state the fact that the literature is used in the honor termination of any form of apostate and any form of atheist. That also includes a woman having relationships outside of wedlock. Because honor killings of women often will be done for the honor of the family, which is often done in the name of a faith. So, to all the feminists in the room that still aren't picking this conversation up to have it, when are you going to do that? And I'm talking to both melanated and unmelanated feminist creators. We like to criticize the effects of religion on our people, on 50% of the human population, but we don't call it out for what it is. It's not only anti-woman, it's anti-freedom of choice on a level of even how we think. And that came to my mind because Nigeria does score in the top for violence against apostates and atheists in the world. It is among the top. I know creators right now in Nigeria that I am quite concerned for over the last 2 years, who have been openly speaking out about the religious conservatism that is taking over in their country on either side of the pendulum. Because you can bet that while that administration is making these kinds of allegations and threats, they're also arming even more Boko Haram and other groups that are enacting violence to justify what they're about to do, because that's what they've always done. Anyway, do you feel the discomfort yet?